If you haven't finished watching the nuggetizer video, that should be the first thing you do. If you go to our notes video playlist, it'll be under metamorphosis. Metamorphosis, excuse me. So we know that the chicken goes to chicken nuggets, pig goes to McRib, fish goes to fish sticks, and cow goes to steak fingers. So this relates our inputs to our outputs. This is called a mapping. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Now we will define a relation versus a function. A relation is a relationship that connects inputs to their outputs. Whereas a function is a specific type of relation. It is a relation where each input has only one output. You can't have more than one output. For an input, chicken cannot go to chicken nuggets and fish sticks. We're going to talk about 4 different ways to represent a relation. The first is ordered pairs, where we have x and y. X represents our inputs, and the second value, y, represents our outputs. We can also make this into a table, so we're going to take our x values, which would be 2, 1, and 0, and put that in the table. 2 outputs of 5, so that's the y value that goes with it. 1 outputs of 4, and 0 outputs of 3. So I'm just taking these points and putting them in the table. X is still our inputs. Y is still our outputs. We could also plot these points on a graph. 0, 3, 1, 4, and 2, 5. We could also make a mapping. So our inputs are, again, 2, 1, and 0. And I'm just going to switch the order. So my outputs are 3, 4, and 5. When I input a 2, I output a 5. When I input a 1, I output a 4. And when I input a 0, I output a 3. Again, I'm looking at these points right here. On problems like this, I find that when there are points like this, sometimes students get confused, and so what you can do is make it into like a map. You don't have to do this, but you can. So if I make it into a map, I have -2, -1, 0, and 1, because remember our x values are our inputs. So these are my inputs. Then my outputs are...
That doesn't make any sense. I don't think that's right. That's a function.
My outputs are 2 and 0. Okay, when I input -2, what do I get out? 2. When I input a -1, what do I get out? 2. When I input a 0, what do I get out? When I input a 1, what do I get out?
0.
Okay, this is a function. It is a function. I could send 3 of you guys to the bathroom all at the same time. I can do that. What's not okay is if like the -2 was going to 2 different numbers. So remember, that's the same type of thing as having like the chicken and the fish and the pig and the cow all go to spam. That's a function. This is a function because each input only goes to one output. Even though you have them going the same place, that's okay. So we say that this is a function, so function because each input only has one output. It's okay that they share an output. What do you guys think? Is it a function?
Yeah.
Haley, you're shaking your head no. Why not?
Because 4 has 2 outputs.
What are the outputs for 4?
0 and 3.
Right, so 4 ends up going 2 different places. So the other ones are okay, but because 4 goes 2 places, and you see it here, 4 goes to 0 and 4 goes to 3, it is not a function. We'll say exactly like Haley said it, because 4 has 2 outputs. And how many is 4 allowed to have? 1. That's your magic number when you're talking about functions. If it has more than 1, no good. So maybe you're catching on. Whenever you're looking for is it a function or not, you're looking for repeated numbers in the inputs. Is this one a function?
No.
Jackson, why not?
Because 0 has 2 outputs.
0 goes to 5, and 0 goes to 6. So we say not a function. Because 0 has 2 outputs. Is this one a function?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I could send like Isaiah and Serenity to the nurse at the same time. I can do that. I can send 2 numbers to the same place. -1 has 1 output. 3 has 1 output. 11 has 1 output. So yes, so function because each input has exactly 1 output or only 1 output. Okay, number 5. Is number 5 a function?
Yep.
Do you see anything repeated in the x column?
No.
No, so you're probably good because all those x values only go one place. So that is a function. And again, you need to say something to the effect of 1 input goes to 1 output. Okay, next. Is that one a function? No, Kieran, why not?
Because it's going to 3 different outputs.
Right, not a function because 1/2 has 3 outputs. That is not cool. Number 7. Okay, can someone raise your hand and tell me what presents a problem? Manolo? Yeah, so 5 is going to 0 and 5 is also going to 10. So no, not a function because 5 has 2 outputs. That first one is a -5. That's a different number. And lastly, yes, -4 only goes to one place. -1 only goes to one place. 2 only goes to one place. 5 only goes to one place. That is a function because every input only goes to one output. I'm going to abbreviate 1 input, 1 output. So we're going to draw vertical lines. You can draw multiple every time. If I draw a vertical line through where we have a 1, so right here, the graph is these points. How many times did it hit the graph? Once. Okay, let's do another one. So now we'll do here. How many times did it hit the graph? Twice. Once at 5 and once at 2. So is it a function? No. So not a function. You could say because it does not pass the vertical line test. You could also say because 2 and 5 have 2 outputs. If you see, it does the same thing again at 5. So not a function. I'll say does not pass the vertical line test. So you can try number 10. So how many times did it hit the blue graph? Once. Okay, start over. Once, 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 once. It only hit once on the part that is actually the graph. We're not talking about the axes. So yes, it's a function because it does pass. It passes the vertical line test. It only hit once. When I draw a vertical line, it hits the point once, 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 once. Yes, it's a function because it passes the vertical line test. It only hit once. Number 12. No. Mohammed, why not?
This is a circle. It's not going to pass the vertical line test.
Yeah, so when I draw the vertical line, how many times will it hit?
Twice.
Twice. So no, because it does not pass. So not a function. Does not pass the vertical line test. It ends up hitting twice on the circle